All right, Shalom. Before I begin this lesson, I would like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Ruach Kudash. I would like to say double honors to my teachers, the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of Great Millstone, the men whom I've learned this truth from. And I'd also like to say Shalom and salutations to the elect that's out there preaching this word in truth and sincerity. All right, I'm the brother Shaquat, and I'm one of the brothers from the branch of Great Millstone, Montreal. And I'm back with another lesson. And this lesson that I'm going to be getting into today is going to be inspired based off a video that I was watching. And that video that I was watching was from the elder Amawan Gabar, right? And he was playing, he was pretty much doing a commentary on other videos, but most notably the video of, um, the former head, I think it was, of Sakari or Gorilla Hebrew. That's his name. That's what he goes by, right? And he was pretty much reacting to Gorilla Hebrew was reacting to another video which was done by the elder Apostle Gabar, right? And something that the elder um, Amawan Gabar had, said stuck with me, and that's pretty much where the inspiration of this lesson comes from, right? And something that he mentioned was that every advice that the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of Great Millstone, any advice that they give you, you have to receive it with a grain of salt, right? Because the men of Yahweh Bashim Ashai, the apostles and bishops and elders of Great Millstone, these are spiritual men, right? And they say particular things and give particular advices that are in the spirit, right? But depending on your situation, um, you know, you should either take heed to that advice, or you might not. It might not apply to you. Is what I'm trying to say, right? But the point is, you should receive it with a grain of salt. And I got the definition of what that phrase means in the Google, right? It says take it with a grain of salt. The meaning is it says to take it with a grain of salt means to view information with skepticism, caution, or a bit of reserve, right? It suggests that you shouldn't accept a statement that you shouldn't. It's like it says. It suggests that you shouldn't accept a statement entirely at face value because the source might be exaggerating, biased, or unverified. But in this case, we know that it's the men of the Lord that are saying or giving these advices. They are verified, and these advices are verified in the spirit, right? And they're not exaggerated in the spirit. But it depends on your situation whether that the advice may be exaggerated or not, right? And in this case, right, the apostle, the video that was being reacted to was when the apostle, uh, elder apostle Tahar said, you just leave your woman, man. You leave your woman if you're too roughly paraphrasing, but he said if you're too attached to your woman, if you're weak to your woman, you should leave her, man. If you're weak to your woman and your kids, you should leave them, right? And that's on point for the most part. But you do have brothers that have women and children, right? But that's spiritual advice, man, because you know what comes first, what's important, and that's the work of Yahweh. That's the work and will of Yahweh Bashim Shai, right? Nothing should really hinder you from serving Yahweh Bashim Shai, not your wife, not your children. So what he said was on point, right? But certain brothers, they're not weak to the woman, right? Certain brothers are not weak to the woman. Certain brothers are not afraid of losing the woman they're with. They don't mind. They don't care, or even losing the kids they're with, right? And that's not going to hinder them. So that advice really doesn't apply to them, right? So that's receiving it with a grain of salt. So this is the book of Sirach 37 and verse. Let's see. I'm gonna start at 12. Matter of fact, I want to get it in the GNTs to see what it says. Sirach 37 GNT verse 12. It says, instead, Salakia. Yeah, so Sirach 37 verse 12 in the GNT, it says, instead, rely on someone who is religious and known to keep Yahweh's, the Lord's commandments or commands. Someone who is sympathetic with you, who will be sorry to see you fail, right? And that's ultimately the men of the Lord, the apostles, the bishops, and elders of Great Millstone, right? The reason why they say particular things is because these men are experienced. They're more experienced than anybody else, pretty much. You know, I speak for myself, but they're more experienced than I am, obviously, in this truth and being out there in the world. So this particular thing that they might say, you know, to benefit me, being sympathetic towards me, right? And being sympathetic to someone doesn't always mean, oh, but it can come off as rough too, right? You know, it could come off as rough, like rebuke. Rebuke doesn't feel good, like scriptures say, rebuke is not comely. It doesn't feel good, but it's good to hear, regardless of whether it feels good or not, man. It's good to hear because it's helping you maneuver better. It's helping you, is to your benefit. Salakia. Yep. So it's to your benefit, man. Rebuke is to your benefit. Okay. So let's keep going in Sirach. Verse 13, and trust your own judgment. No one's advice is more reliable, right? Sometimes your own intuition can tell you more than seven watchmen on a high tower. Above all, pray to the Most High that He may show you the right thing to do. That's right. So when you hear particular advice and it doesn't necessarily pertains to your current situation, then that advice is not for you. You don't have to take uh, um you don't have to take heed to that advice because you are already doing the right thing. Your situation is okay, right? So you don't necessarily need that advice, right? That's trusting your own intuition, understanding that, okay, my situation is not really what the elder is saying, although what he's saying might apply for somebody else, but not me. My situation is fine, but what he's saying is right. You know, that's the mindset, man, that you should have. You know, so any advice that's given out by the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, you should take it with a grain of salt, man. And if it doesn't apply to you, then don't take heed to it, right? And most importantly, right, because scriptures also speak about before any enterprise, um, before making any decision or before doing anything, really you should seek counsel from the men of the Lord, right? And the counsel that they might give, is good counsel. They might give their perspective, you know, on the situation you presented to them, but their perspective might not really suit your current situation, right? Because if you're bringing a thing to someone, if you're bringing a case to a brother and you're looking for help on what to do, you're not necessarily gonna, explain each and every detail, each and every, you know, aspect that led up to that, situation that you're seeking help from, right? But you're basically gonna skim it, run it down to them, short form it, man. You're gonna explain it in short form, and then the brother's gonna give you his advice, his take on based on the information you gave him, right? And based off that, you could be like, okay, will this benefit me, or do I, should I do it like that or not, right? That's trusting your own intuition because you fully know your situation, right? You fully know your situation in and out, man. You know, so not all advice um, that's given out is not for everybody, right? I think I had there's another precept. Mm, I'm gonna read verse 16. It says, "Planning and thought lie behind everything that is done." Right? Planning and thought, man. You know, that's exercising wisdom, the spirit of wisdom. All right. I one more precept, but nothing's coming. So, hey, I'm gonna end it off there, man. Lord willing, this lesson was edifying to the elect. In closing, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Ruach. Once again, double honors to my teachers, the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of Great Millstone. Until next time, Shalom and salutations to the elect.